How's everybody doing? Rough start. Technology always does that. I'm really bad behind a podium. Can y'all hear me well enough if I walk around out here? All right. So it was supposed to be the preview for our recent Corsicana episode. Did anybody get to catch that one? Y'all seen it? All right. Okay, good. Good. Technical difficulties, but that's available on our website. So I'm Chet Garner. I make a Texas travel show that's called The Day Tripper. We go around the state of Texas telling one-day stories about wherever we are. All you can eat, see, and do if you're in a town, say, like Corsicana, Texas. Can you day trip to Corsicana? The answer is Corsicana. Corsicana. People, Corsicana, my kids, that's like their favorite joke every time we're going through Corsicana. All right. So Texas is really big. Before I get too deep into my speech, I like to poll the audience just to see exactly who I'm speaking to so that I can appropriately cater the speech. All right. So we're going to have a little poll. I know y'all voted on Tuesday. We're going to vote again today, but it's going to be much easier, I promise. So I'm going to show y'all two things on the screen. If you want the one on if you prefer the one on the left, point left. If you prefer the one on the right, point right. And in my highly mathematical brain, I'm going to size you up and figure out who I'm speaking to, okay? So here it goes. Are we more city people or country people? Which one? Point left, point right. No surprises there. All right, I figured that much. Okay, you got to go on a vacation. You're going to go to the beach or the mountains. You don't point at the screen, man. Either way, that one. Was that a beach? That was beach. Everybody must vote or else my speech is going to be terrible because this is how it works. All right, okay. I think we're more beach people. All right, you get one meal before you die. Are we going barbecue or Tex-Mex? This is the most enthusiastic voter I've ever seen. All right, okay. You got what's on your road trip playlist? Are we more Willie or Queen Bee? I think we're more Willie Nelson. There's usually like one enthusiastic Bee fan in the audience. There she is. There she is. All right, okay. And then here we go. How about this? Who are we cheering for? Wait, oh, wrong. Sorry. Wrong slide. This was the slide it was supposed to be. I'm in Ranger land, aren't I? I just lost the crowd. Darn. Okay. Go Stros. Anybody with me? I grew up in Southeast Texas. Okay. All right. So let me tell y'all just a little bit about myself. And I'm going to go into sort of my backstory because I feel the pain, the passion, and everything in between of running and operating a small or local business. That's how I started. But before we get sort of to some of the entrepreneurial lessons that I've learned, I'll give you all a little bit of my background as well. So I'm a native Texan, born and raised in Comanche. Anybody? Comanche? All right. It's like enthusiastically Comanche fans. All right. For those that don't know, Comanche's right there. I have to put it on the map because it's not really east of anything and west of not much at all. And so that's where I was raised until kindergarten. And then, my dad, who's a physician, set all the kids down. He was like, hey, I have to take a job transfer, but I want y'all to have some input in where we move because we got to move as a family. Y'all want to go to the mountains or the beach? And we were little kids and we were like, the beach, the beach. He said, all right, cool. And then he moved us to Port Arthur, Texas. Yeah, it was a really evil bait and switch. But it never, failed that what that meant as the family that moved away from the rest of the family is that every holiday we had to load up the family Suburban and take it on a cross-country trip to go and visit the relatives that were in the Comanche, Stephenville, Hyco, Hamilton sort of area. And so I'm one of four kids. And the only way we ever traveled, especially if we had to haul all the humans and the dog and the luggage and the Christmas gifts was, we would just rip out the back seat, stuff the luggage in, and then put a mattress on top of it. Did y'all travel by mattress as little kids? Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's before we cared about the health and safety of children as a society. And we would just sort of travel on this mattress. And, you sort of try to nap, try to read, try not to get suffocated by the headliner that was sagging in your face. And it never failed that we would be on some country back road. And I would, all of a sudden, my dad would slam on the brakes. And I would go from the back of the Suburban to the front of the Suburban to look at what I called as a little kid, tombstones of death, Texas historic markers, right? There's nothing worse than a childhood than a Texas historic marker. But I learned something along the way. I developed a deep passion for Texas history, a deep passion for traveling, learned to love the state, got to see a lot of it as a little kid. And so that bred in me sort of a bit of a naivete as I got older. I was like, man, I've already seen Texas, been there, done that. I'm going to go, and there's one of the tombstones of death right there. And we did this a lot as kids, you know? So, but it developed a passion in me to tell the stories of Texas, but I didn't know that was there until much later. So as an adult, I decided I was going to go and see the world because I thought mistakenly that I'd seen all of Texas that there was to see. And so I started taking these big trips. You know, all the things they tell you got to see before you die. Y'all bought that book? I bought that book. I'm like, oh man, my life won't have any meaning unless I see the Mona Lisa, which is like the size of a postage stamp. But anyway, went and did some great stuff. These are some pictures from my travels. Just going to all kinds of places. California, that's Turkey. This is Thailand, where you can spoon chimpanzees for a few bucks. If you're ever in Thailand, make sure you have extra dollars. The chimpanzees appreciate it. And so we would go out and I would travel the world, and all of a sudden things started occurring to me that I was having more fun traveling in my own backyard. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So anyway, I got to see the world, right? And then that thing happens when you graduate from school that happened to me, and you have to get the job. So I went, got a law job because I'd gone to law school, and this was the view from my law office window. That's it. Nothing else is coming up. I was stuck and trapped in this box in a high-rise building in downtown Austin. And I thought, man, I'm going to go crazy if I can't travel. And so I was like, man, when you're at the bottom of a totem pole at an international law firm, they don't exactly give you a lot of time to go off and see the world. And so I was like, well, I can't break away for a long trip. I'm just going to have to take a short one. And so I was like, well, I can't travel far. So I thought, well, I'm going to go back and start exploring Texas because I hadn't really done it since I was a little kid. And so I went from being the world traveler to the Texas traveler. And I saw things like this. Anybody recognize that shot? That's Enchanted Rock. Who's climbed Enchanted Rock? Okay, not enough of y'all. Enchanted Rock is one of the most beautiful places on earth. It's in the hill country right around between Fredericksburg and Llano. And it's like God took a big old granite basketball, chopped it in half, and plopped it down in the hill country. And you can go and hike it. Now it's like the perfect weather right now to go and hike it. You don't want to do it in August. It's like a comal in the sky. You get fried. But like right now it's perfect and it's absolutely stunning. And I went back as a 20-something-year-old and, seeing something that I hadn't seen since I was 5, and it blew my mind. I was like, this is crazy. This is me exploring our coast. I started to go down to take these little beach trips and realized that there are some beaches in Texas that you don't have to bring paint thinner to get the tar off your feet. And so I saw the coast. Started going through all of our show caves that we have in Texas. This is me after going on what's called a wild cave tour, where they take you off the beaten path and you go into the back of the caves. And I thought I was covered in mud, but the guide was like, "Yeah, that's not mud." I was like, "Well, then what is it?" He goes, "It's bat guano, Chet." But it was 10,000-year-old bat guano, so he told me that's fine, I guess. And this is me bonding with some local wildlife, that we have around Texas. I was having more fun exploring my backyard than I did when I went and traveled somewhere exotic overseas, spent a couple of grand on a plane ticket, took all this time off of work or whatever, stepped away from life, it literally in a day, I could be somewhere more beautiful, eating food that was better, people who are nicer, things that I'd just never seen. Then it took all this effort to go somewhere overseas. And I thought, man, we're doing vacation wrong. We don't need to take all of this time to go and spend lots of money and to take all of this PTO we get and for it to blow it all in one, big shot, overseas. And when it comes to vacation, I might be the only person that ever tells you this. We need to think smaller. And so to me, it was like one of those moments that, well, if no one else is going to make a television show about travel in Texas, I've clearly got the passion to do it. So I started this little show called The Day Tripper. It was 2007 is when we filmed the pilot. And for about a year and a half, I tried to get it on TV somewhere. And there's more on that in a little bit. But every show, we focus on three things of a town we visit: the culture, the outdoors, and the food. And my goal when I set out to make the television show is I want to make a television show that inspires people to watch less TV. That was always the goal. And so the biggest compliment you can give me about the television show is, man, I watched it and then I went and did it. Because that is by far the best thing anybody ever tells me. And we've had families cancel Disney vacations so they could go and travel the Panhandle, But they said, that was by far the best family vacation we ever took. And so the Day Tripper was sort of born out of this passion that I had for Texas, this passion for storytelling that I had. But there was no business plan out there that allowed me to sort of read it and go, oh, that's how you do this. And so this was the very first intro, though, for the first season of the show. And I hope the audio comes through. Let's see. It's coming out over there. So it's just, Texas, 850 miles from Orange to El Paso, 900 miles from Brownsville to Texas, and thousands upon thousands of highways and dirt roads in the middle. Exploring Texas ain't no small vacation, friend. It's a lifetime endeavor. But what about those who don't have years but just a single day? Well, that's where the Day Tripper comes in. From the well-known landmarks to the completely obscure dives and hideaways, and all within a day's reach. This is the Day Tripper. Here's the banjo. All right. So for 13 years now, I've been teaching people about Texas. And as we get into this speech, I want to see what you guys know about Texas. Y'all feel pretty good about that? Y'all think y'all got some good knowledge? All right. It's the Day Tripper quiz show. It's time, guys. All right. I need everybody to stand up. Okay. We are playing for a brand new Day Tripper ball cap. Ooh, that's right. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. I'm going to put a question on the screen. I will read it out loud. We will all answer it as a group, but you can't answer it until I count to 3, and then you're going to say the answer out loud. The reason for that is twofold. 1, I can know if you got it right. 2, we can all laugh at you if you got it wrong. Okay? It's an honor system. And here's the first one. They get harder as we go, but don't say it till I count to 3. Ready? But what is the official flower of Texas? 1, 2, 3. It's the bluebonnet. Very good. All right, sit down if you got it wrong. Good job, guys. There's usually one. All right. Okay, keep cruising. What's the official bird of Texas? What? Well, I didn't count to 3. Y'all got a free one if you didn't know it. All right, it is the mockingbird indeed. Wait till I count to 3. All right. What's the official tree of the state of Texas? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Pecan tree. Very good. Sit down if you got it wrong. Okay. All right. Oh, man, y'all are smart. Dang, I should have brought more hats. Okay. All right, now y'all can all sit down, but you've made it to round 2 if you're still standing up. But that's not for a few slides. Okay. So I had this idea. And this is where I hope it'll get helpful for y'all as entrepreneurs. I had this idea for this television show as something that I felt like we needed here in Texas, a show that I could use to sort of inspire my travels, to inform other people, to champion small towns, to help people realize that there was all this great stuff to go and see in Texas. I just had one problem. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I started to think about it. Okay, where, what, how do you even create a TV show? Where do you look for something? I had a film degree from UT, so I was like, I'm pretty sure I can push record and I can keep it in focus, but The other part, getting on television, telling a full story in 30 minutes, these were all things that I really didn't know how to do, had never done them before. And so this brings me to my road trip rule number 1. And I'll share a few of my road trip rules with you guys. Passion is your fuel. So I don't care what sort of business you're in. If you're not passionate about it, it's not going to be as successful as it could be. All right. And I might even go so far as to tell you that if you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's going to fail, and you need to find something you're passionate about. So anybody who has ever started a business or worked for a small business knows that you're going to work more hours than the other people. And the idea of working for yourself doesn't mean you work less hours. It actually means you work more hours. But the beauty of it is you're not just working for someone else. You're working to follow your own dreams and to see the fulfillment of your own, tasks, things that you want to see come to fruition. And so passion is something that can never be bought. There's no amount of money you can pay to make someone passionate about something they're not passionate about. And one of the most exciting segments I ever made was about a sparrow. Wah, wah. Like, sounds terribly boring. And if you had told me it was going to be exciting, I would have said, you're crazy. But we went to the King Ranch down in Kingsville, Texas. And we hopped on one of these bird tours. And I'm thinking, this is going to be kind of lame, but I'm going to film it anyway. Our bird tour guy, was the most ridiculously passionate sparrow expert on the planet. And by the end of that, we were all screaming at the top of our lungs, there's a sparrow on the fence, look! And we're like, I'm telling you, it was contagious because passion does that to people. Anytime you talk to somebody and you're passionate about it, they're going to get wrapped up in it because passion is contagious. All right? This guy got us excited about sparrows. I have never been as excited about sparrows since. I don't think I ever will again. But for that day, I was all in. There's a place outside of Austin called Snow's Barbecue. Y'all ever heard of this? Speaking of passion, the line for Snow's Barbecue is about 4 hours on a Saturday. It's the only time of the week they're open. It's considered the number 1 barbecue joint in Texas. It's won that award a bunch of times from Texas Monthly. But the main reason, the barbecue is good, don't get me wrong. But one of the main reasons people go to Snow's Barbecue is to get a picture with Miss Tootsie. They go, okay, who's Miss Tootsie? Well, this is another idea of being driven by passion and this inspiring action from other people. Miss Tootsie is the pit boss who at 87 years old still shows up every Saturday, shovels the coals, and outworks every dude in the audience, all right? She's got a day job as a janitor at Giddings High School, and on the weekends, she's the pit boss of the number 1 barbecue joint in Texas. That's a cool story. So people wait in line for 4 hours to get a picture with Miss Tootsie because you can sense, you just have to be in the same room with her, you can sense how passionate she is. And she's someone who could have hung up the hat a long time ago. She's not working for a paycheck. She could have retired a long time ago and just ridden out the teacher retirement system, right? But she didn't. She's working at Snow's Barbecue. So fueled by this passion, I start looking around, where in the heck can I get my show on TV? And PBS came to mind. YouTube at the time was just for cat videos. I didn't have money to go and buy time on ABC, NBC, and those. I didn't know anybody in Hollywood, but I started to look at PBS. I wanted to make an educational show, and PBS became a viable possibility. And I thought, man, well, what I really want to do is I want to make an impact. I want people to see that there's more to towns that they've already written off. It's like giving someone an excuse. People go, why would I in the world would I come to Corsicana? There's nothing to do there. I drove by on the highway. Like, come on, man, you missed it completely. And I thought, what's a town that everybody in Austin hates, but if I could convince them to go there, then I could change the world. And I thought, that's Waco. Everyone hates Waco, at least at the time. Now, this was before Chip and Joanna, and they've never said it on record, but I'm pretty sure I inspired them to do what they're doing now. I'm just waiting for them to say it. No. But I had gone to Baylor, and I knew that Waco's full of hidden gems. And so we made this show, a pilot. No one paid us to do it. We just went up there, did the pilot, threw my wife in the car, a buddy of mine from film school, one of his buddies, and showed it to PBS. And PBS was like, this is amazing, Chet. Make as many as you can. And I thought, okay, well, cool. Where's my big bag of money when you get greenlit? And they were like, Chet, we're PBS. We don't give away money. We beg for money. And I was like, oh, then that's going to be a problem. So I had to go and figure out how to fundraise. And let me tell you, that was a challenge. And I thought, man, how am I going to stand out? I'm just a guy with an idea for a TV show. And an idea came to me. And this leads me into road trip rule number 2. Different is good. You want to do different if you're out there. But sometimes weird is even better. And this was we're back. Day Tripper Quiz Show has resumed. All right, stand up if you're still in it. If you're still in it. If you're not, you have to sit in your seat of shame. Okay. On the count of 3, what is the official song of the state of Texas? 1, 2, 3. Texas, our Texas, all hail the mighty state. She knows it. What'd y'all say, Eyes of Texas? Closet Longhorn fans everywhere. I know they are. Okay. All right, here we go. Don't say it till I count to 3. What is the official sport of the state of Texas? 1, 2, 3. Gotcha. Rodeo. It's rodeo. Sit down if you got it wrong. We're down to 2. Give yourself a pat on the back. Well done. Oh, no, y'all are playing back here? Oh, he is. All right, we're down to 3. We're down to 3. Okay, here's another one. What's the official small mammal of the state of Texas? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Armadillo. You're right. Well done. They all 3 got that right. Let me see if I've got any more right here. Nope. All right, y'all can sit down. All right, y'all give them a round of applause. We got 3 people here. This was the weird idea that I had, and this is what stuck with me. Y'all ever been to Waco and seen a burger place called Health Camp? It is one of the greasiest burger joints in all of Texas, and it has a name like Health Camp. And I thought, that's an opportunity. It's a delicious burger. I thought, man, how can I make myself different from, say, Bob Phillips, who's been doing this for 40 years at the time? I thought, well, I've never seen him dress in aerobics gear and do calisthenics with cheeseburgers in his hands. And so that was the idea. And the second we started making this sort of ridiculous thing be part of the show, people started to gravitate toward it and thought, wow, that's different. And that's kind of marketing 101, right? How do you make yourself stand out? And so different is good, weird is better. We went to Marfa, threw on space gear, ran around. We dressed as the lady in white at a haunted house in Jefferson, Texas. I dressed in orange spandex and ran around the Orange Show in Houston, something my crew wished that I had never done. And now I see it, I wish I had probably never done it too. But the Orange Show is this really weird folk art installation in Houston. If you've never heard of it or seen it, look it up. It's bizarre, man. It's down in South Houston. But this is being part of the show. And so I don't care what sort of business you're in, you have to think about marketing the show. So what makes your business different? And sometimes the things that might even make your business kind of weird, hey, we don't really do this the normal way. The world would say we're weird. And that could be ridiculous customer service. I mean, that could be the way that you're responsive to clients. I mean, who knows what it is? The way you organize it, the way you build stuff, all of those things can make you weird, and that's a good thing. Here's one of my weirdest places I've been in Texas. This is in Northeast Texas. Speaking of good marketing by being weird. Y'all see it, if you went to the Sulphur Springs Square, you would look and you'd see these weird glass cubes on the lawn. You think, wow, what a strange art installation. It's like a reflection of time and government. And if you're there long enough, you'll hear the toilet flush, because these are indeed outdoor restrooms with very good marketing techniques. So they're completely encased in two-way mirrors. From the outside, you cannot see in, but from the inside, you get a 360-degree view of the courthouse lawn while you do your business. So I took a picture in the toilet, and it looks like there's no wall there, but there is. And so when you're sitting there, there will be families, and a mom will stop with her stroller, and you're like, oh my gosh, she's looking at me. I have to check it. You go to the outside, you cannot see in, but from the inside, it's like there's no wall there. It is weird. And even though you can't see it, it doesn't stop the tourists from coming up and banging on the glass and going, hey, just to screw with you. Anyway, I already talked about some of this. All right, road trip rule number 3. You know, it's okay to not know the final destination. This is something that every entrepreneur has to grow comfortable with, or anybody who works for a small business has to grow comfortable with. It's okay to not know the final destination. When we started the Day Tripper, we had no idea where it would go. If we would put it on and we'd go through all this work and nobody but my mom would watch it on TV. That's turned out I wasn't the only person who wanted to know about Texas. And chances are the idea you have of meeting some need, you're not the only person who needs that. But if you've never seen a business like it before, well, that's on you now to start that business, to go and meet that need in a way that someone else hasn't before. And by definition, doing something no one has ever done before means there's no path on that road. There's no road to travel. Sometimes you got to step off the trail and go and blaze your own path. We did this a lot on the show. This is a picture of the Devil's River. It's the most pristine river in the Southwest United States. I wanted to make an episode about it. There was nothing on the internet about how to even canoe this thing, hardly. There was some book published in the 80s. It's a beautiful river. It's as turquoise as it looks on the screen. But once you get down there, there's no cell service. You get on the river, you're on the river 2 days until your person comes and picks you up, or 3, however long you want to stay there. So we had to prepare for all kinds of things without having any clue how the episode was going to turn out. And I'm kind of mean to my crew sometimes. I've made them drive to the end of North Padre Island. One time I said, crew, show up at the office. Get there at 5:30. Why? I said, I'll explain when I get there. We threw a dart at Texas and then went and took a day trip wherever the dart hit. My crew hated me for that one, but it was pretty fun. They're like, what about? I was like, we'll figure it out. We'll go. But that's my nature. And now I've got a team around me that understands, they've done this show long enough without any kind of template for it that they're good with the chaos. And I think every small business at some degree has to be good with the chaos. You can plan for the unexpected to a certain degree, but by definition, the unexpected is unexpected, so you don't know quite what's going to come up. Road trip rule number 4, stay curious. You have to continually stay curious about the business you're in, how the business is changing, how the market is changing. This is one of my favorite things. Speaking of curiosity on the road, anybody ever heard of the painted churches of Texas? No? All right, so if you're east of San Antonio and you drive by, you see one of these little churches, you think, oh, that's cute. It's a nice little cute country church. I've seen 100 like it before. But if you're around Schulenburg, you have to stop because they may look quaint on the outside, but this is what they look like on the inside. And they're called the painted churches for a reason. The Czechs and the Germans, when they came over here in the late 1800s, their faith was super important to them, and they had all these old world skills. And so to put them into use, they built churches like this. Absolutely stunning. I was in Brownsville one day at the last authentic commercial barbacoa restaurant in the country. So barbacoa, if you've ever eaten it, whether you knew it or not, you were eating cowhead. Now, the traditional way to cook the cowhead is to wrap it in foil and cook it in the ground. This place opened in the 50s doing it that way, and they're the only one left still doing it that way because it's terribly against health code. It's a big pit of fire in the ground. But we pull this cowhead out. He's showing me his methods. His name is Mondo. He goes, hey, Chet, you're lucky. I'm like, why? He goes, the ojo is still there. I was like, what? You'll know what ojo means. He goes, Chet, you ever had an ojo? I was like, oh, no, I have not, and I don't think I want to. And he goes, oh, no, people fight over this. So he plucks the eyeball out of the brain cavity, puts it on a tortilla, gives me a little salsa, and we throw it back. It was terrible. It was awful. I don't recommend eating ojo to anybody. This is a place that we had an opportunity to stay. Anybody recognize this building? This is Presidio La Bahia, where the Goliad massacre happened. So about 344 men were massacred during the Texas Revolution on site here. And for a very small fee, you can spend the night there by yourself. Anybody? And who would do it? Now he's like, no, yeah. Some of y'all are messed up like me. It's pretty freaky. I didn't necessarily want to do it, but I did it anyway because I knew my crew would be there, and we all slept like babies. A couple weeks later, we had to go and stay, and we had an opportunity, it was actually a couple years later, we had an opportunity to stay at a different fort. This one was in San Angelo. My crew abandoned me, but in my effort to always stay curious, I said, well, fine, I'll stay there by myself. That was a horrible decision. That night was one of the worst. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I just stayed in my room with all the lights on, listening to what sounded like rabid raccoons throwing dishes in the kitchen. Did I go and check out what it was? Absolutely not, because that's how everyone dies in horror movies. Let's go investigate that sound. It's like, nope, I'm too smart for that. And so what I did, I got up and I locked my door, and then I sat back and I thought, wait, no, the ghost can go through the door, so I have to unlock it. And I opened it so I could get away faster. Anyway, at that point, I realized I had gone crazy, and I just had to endure the night. But, I think it is that passion, that curiosity, that you never quite know what's going to happen, but you got to keep pressing the gas just to see. All right, stand back up. If you're in it, we got 3. Who's in it? 1, 2, 3. What is the official snack of Texas? Ready? 1, 2. You got to say something. What'd you guess? It's chips and salsa. Brian is our winner. Hey! Ta-da! Good job. Good job. The most Texan person here. The official pepper. This one's easy. This should be earlier. Jalapeno. And then what else? Fruit. That one's a little harder. Ruby red grapefruit. Very good. Very good. All right. Road trip rule number 5. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. This is credited to Mark Twain, but even that might not be true. I'll just tell one of my favorite stories with y'all in Texas. This is the Ellis County Courthouse. This is in Waxahachie. Now, if you look at it, you see a beautiful Romanesque revival courthouse, but the story of it getting built, I think, is the best. So it was the late 1800s. They had to build this courthouse. It was going to take an incredible amount of craftsmanship, and they didn't have enough local talent in stonemasons to do some of the ornate carvings they needed on the exterior. So they invited a stonemason to come in from out of town. Well, he got to town, and as he started to carve these ornate faces around the courthouse, he fell in love with a local girl, as the legend holds. And he was so enamored with her beauty that he carved her fair face into the facade of the courthouse. Isn't she beautiful? Stunning. Stunning. Well, he got about halfway through, and she dumped him. And well, the rest of the carvings that he had to make of her, she's a little less angelic and a lot more demonic as her face is on the courthouse. Now, people always ask, Chet, is that true? And the answer is, of course it's true. Of course it's true, because a Texan told me, and Texans never lie. Now, is it true? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant whether or not it's true. It's a great story, and it gets retold and retold as basically a marketing tactic for that courthouse. So never let the truth get in the way of a good story. I'm not telling you to lie to people about the stuff that matters. But when there are elements of lore to how the family, the business got started, people are always so worried about things that can't totally be fact-checked in every single capacity. But as Texans, we're kind of used to that. So never let the truth get in the way of a good story. If you can't prove it wrong, well, then, okay, go with it. And like I said, I'm not telling you to lie exactly, but I am saying that, yarns and lore is as big a part of Texas as the Alamo. Here's some other stuff we got. Road trip rule number 6. This is the last one I'm going to leave you guys with. Kind of dovetails into the last one. We are all storytellers. And here's one of the quote comes in a bit. A lot of people have this misconception that a storyteller is only an old guy who sits around a campfire with a guitar, right? Or a grandpa or grandma who pulls the grandkid up on their knee and tells them a story. Or someone like me who does something that is very clearly storytelling. But the truth of it is, we are all storytellers. Some of us just don't know it yet. And you think about it, well, I don't really tell that many stories during the day, and I want to correct you. You tell stories all day long. All day, every day, you're telling people stories. Where are you going today? I don't know how many people left a spouse or kids this morning. They asked, where are you going today? Well, you had an opportunity to tell them a story. You did. You told them something, some kind of story. I've got this lame governor's thing. I don't know. All right. What? You just told them a story. I'm getting dragged to something I'm not that excited about going to. What's an alternative story you could have told your spouse or your kids? Man, I'm excited. We get to hear from the governor's office. Other business owners will be there. We'll be sharing ideas and collaborating on stuff of how to get better as business people. Okay. Technically, both of those might have been true. One story communicated that, you're kind of not that excited about today. The other story said, wow, this day could be filled with endless opportunity. So it happens all the time everywhere. And small businesses need to be keenly aware of how many stories you tell. Your construction site, hey, what's going on here? You can brush them off, or you can tell them a story that's going to make them feel connected to what you're doing. Well, I'm a small business. We're out here. I've been in love with this kind of work for a long time, and we're making it happen. We got an amazing team, and it's great. People are always way more attracted to optimism than they are pessimism. And so the stories you tell day after day after day are going to make the most impact on your business, both to your customers, but also the stories we tell ourselves are just as important, because it's those stories that continually fuel our passions, that fuel us to stay curious and fuel us to go out and make an impact on the world. I truly believe the heart and soul, the heartbeat of so many towns, just like Corsicana, exists in the small businesses that create the atmosphere for the entire town to have this idea that here anything's possible, dreams can be chased, and dreams can be won. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening to me. Here, last quote. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. All right. Thank y'all very much.